welcome to the GRIMALDI podcast. We have a very special guest today. He is logging in right now from what they were saying. But before we get to that, while we wait for him to join us here, I do have some interesting videos here. So this one here is Ilhan Omar saying some crazy shit, but we will probably talk about this video here with Mike in a minute.
Masked, armed men who are in plain clothes that are snatching people off the streets, unwilling to identify themselves. You have the military being deployed in our streets. My God, this is America. You have states' rights being disregarded. So, a constitutional crisis that's being created in front of our eyes. And the same week,
Mr. Lindell.
Hey, Drew. I am sorry. I'm caught here, not in my studio.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I appreciate you so much.
I can't get on the other phone. Let me try to see how this works here. Oh my God. Can you see me right now or not?
I cannot see you right now. I could see you before, though. Rick said you were on the campaign trail, so.
Yes, I got a huge event this afternoon. I got to heading up there. Where are we at here? Okay.
There you are. Now I can see you.
Let me see if I can set up here. Like I say, I couldn't get to my. I've had a couple things happen. I can't get to my studio on time. I don't know if this is even going to work here.
Yeah, it'll work. I appreciate you coming on. I was just playing a video of, while we were waiting for you to come on, of Ilhan Omar, and how she is just giving the world the middle finger right now. All the Americans,
right.
All this fraud stuff going on. My biggest question is, what would you do? Number one thing, first day as governor, what would you do to end that massive fraud that we have learned about?
Well, I've already checked into. We have 24 welfare programs in Minnesota, 24 main ones. Most of them are being hit with the fraud. So I'm already investigating all 24, and not just to get these guys prosecuted, everyone that was involved, but also to relook at these fraud programs or these welfare programs. We call them fraud programs here in Minnesota, and see which ones actually work. Is there a real return on the investment? Let's say you didn't have the fraud. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are billions upon billions of dollars, not just the money that was taken through fraud. It could be so much of it is wasted money on. Minnesota has more, I believe, wasted programs that don't help anybody, or that we're taxed on here. We have the highest tax in the nation: income tax, corporate tax, you name it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So with like the fraud and all of that, why do you think it was so easy to set these up in, like, for example, Minnesota? But we're learning now that they're all over the place, and actually all this fraud, if you get rid of the fraud, you could probably get rid of our debt, our national debt, with how much of the fraud is all over the place. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In Minnesota, I believe it all started here. It says Minnesota, maybe Minnesota nice. I think we turn, we go, oh, that can't be happening. This couldn't be happening. But it's a lot of just corrupt politicians. I believe it all comes down to that. We have Keith Ellison. You got Tim Walz, you got Ilhan Omar, you got the mayor of Minneapolis. I mean, they've all got to be complacent. Hold it, wait a minute. Amy Klobuchar was here during this time. I mean, come on. I don't know, Amy, you're here. Were you complacent? How did you? I want to tell you, Amy Klobuchar and Mike Lindell agreed in 2018 and 19 on this election fraud, and Amy was the biggest. Yeah, Amy was the biggest voice in the country to get rid of the voting machines and go to paper ballots. And
The
what
change.
did Amy do since then? And what did I do? I spent $80 million, everything I had, securing the fraud and securing our election platforms. Amy ignored it after 2020 and said, oh, there's no problems with our elections. But you know what? I'm going to go to Washington and get billions of dollars, bring it to Minnesota, and then we'll ship it off to Somalia. I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So I know
yeah.
faith plays a large part in all of that. I've read your book, Rags to Riches and all of that. So I wanted to ask you how, I know, you've been a very successful businessman. Faith plays a big role in that. How do you take your faith into that business role and still be successful kind of thing? But how do you also see that playing into you becoming governor? How would you take that?
Well, if
spirituality?
right before, right before the virus, everybody, right before in the spring of 2020, I was at the Rose Gardens and I spoke out. A nation had turned its back on God. We had taken God out of the schools, and we need to pray for God's grace to get back in the Word. And that's basically I could have been talking about Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota here, we're the Trojan horse for Sharia law. I mean, they have with Islam here, the Muslims they brought in, and it doesn't go with our Constitution. We've got our governor put the satanic statue right in the Capitol.
Yeah, that was
But
wild.
for me, I'm gonna yeah, it was, and we got to bring God back into this. I every day that I get up, with my wife and I, we get in the Word, and we can be proactive in prayer then, and that's the way I've ran my company, My Pillow, to withstand the biggest attack on a company in history. We've been able to get through it by the grace of God.
Amen.
We've been able to, God did give us grace for such a time as this. I spent the last 5 years fighting these for secure elections and kept the faith that, and we had our great president get elected in 2024. But we're in a spiritual battle of biblical proportions of
I
good and
agree.
evil, and that's where we're at. And that's the number one thing I'm bringing back into
Amen.
the well, we're going to bring God back into the schools. I met with the teachers up here, and I met with the things we're going to do to help them and help our education system up here. But and it wants so many things that are wrong here. But it all starts with God,
Amen.
and that God is Jesus Christ.
Yep. Amen. Amen to that. That's a big difference. There was like Andrew Wilson was saying something about that where he likes to say Christ is God. Because when you say Christ is king, even a lot of Muslims will say, yeah, he's king. Yeah, he was king. He's king of the Jews. But if you say
Right, right.
Christ is God, that's a very Christian way of looking at it. And I love that.
Right. Yeah.
But so with all with the 2020 election, I know you went out and you put everything on the line, and we thank you for that. Now, I watched a lot of your stuff on the election, and the 2010 census, you could almost track verbatim with the election fraud in 2020. Now, you had in that census, you still had a lot of illegal immigrants. So you're talking about that 2020, fraud thing where you had 100% turnout, even with illegals, just to make that mark look exactly like what it would be in the 2010 census.
Right. No, you're exactly right. We had all the evidence. There's only one truth. People say to me now. In fact, the first interview that I got when I started running for governor was CBS and Esme Murphy in Minneapolis. And she interviews me and she says, one of the first questions, she says, well, Mike, your evidence of the 2020 election, you lost the $5 million challenge. You owe $5 million because it was false. And I said, Esme, you're a horrible reporter. I said, the Eighth Circuit, the Eighth Circuit here in Minneapolis overturned that. And they said Mike was right. The evidence was right. So she didn't do her due diligence, but all the stuff that we had over 5 years now of working on gathering all of this evidence and everything we had, not just the 2020 election, but to secure all our elections. It was all turned in. I turned it all in last February, and our president knows it's the most important thing to secure our elections so everything's not in vain. Everything that we're fighting for isn't in vain. It all starts with our election. And remember, I helped get pushed through for our own party. The RNC put out a resolution in August of 2023, and here's what the resolution says. Here's what we want for our elections. Same-day voting, paper ballots, hand counted, precinct level, voter ID. What a concept,
what
right?
a concept. I just don't understand. I was in the car business for years, right? And you cannot buy a car without a driver's license. That's the first thing you ask for when somebody comes in. Oh, can I take it for a test drive? Well, can I get a copy of your driver's license? Oh, you want to buy a car? Let me get your driver's license. You need a driver's license for pretty much everything. You need a driver's license to even get into some of these Democrat rallies.
Yeah, how about a hotel? You got to check into a hotel anywhere. I mean, in New York, if that's socialist, you got to, if you want to shovel snow, you got to have 2 forms of ID. Come on.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's that's what we became, and that's what I'm running on here in Minnesota is common sense. We've got to bring common sense back to to Minnesota, and like the president, like we're trying to do for our country, and it's we've lost our way. Somewhere along the line, it took us down a path, but that path, like I told the president, the last 4 years, or the 4 years before he got in, all the nonsense we were seeing really helped wake people up and awake the whole. This is the time, like in Minnesota, I think there's doors open now that no man can shut. That the fraud, I feel, is one of the biggest blessings our state's ever got, because it's going to open up things. You can say ban Sharia law now, and you're not racist. Right. You can, but all these things, like you just asked at the beginning here about the welfare programs, all these things are going to be looked into, and that if it doesn't make sense, it's got to be changed or discontinued.
What do you think is the biggest holdup right now with Thune with passing the Save America Act? Like, why won't he bring that?
I don't know. I really think it's obviously the Republicans. They could push it and just fight for it, and they're not. I think it's like me. I fought from the time that the 2020 election was over, every day for 5 years, and I was all over this country. I got blocked more by uniparty Republicans and rhinos in Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, things that didn't make sense. And you look at these deviations in people, you're going, they got to have a hidden agenda or something that's not for the people, or bought up. There's some kind of agenda there, and that's what's holding up that Save America Act. That has to get pushed through, you guys. I mean, it has to. And what that does, when you start, me, of course, I'm, all about we have to get rid of the machines. It's a process to get rid of the voting machines. 132 countries have banned them, but as you take away other ways they steal, and other ways that things are cheated on, like Wisconsin has 7.2 million names on their voter rolls. If everybody voted in Wisconsin that could vote, it's 4.2 million. You have 3 million. Why? Why are they there?
Right, yeah.
And but as you take away with the Save America Act, of course you can't have illegals vote. You've got to have ID to vote. And if you do that, you take away a big slice of the way of part of the cheat. And by doing that, now when they cheat over here, the deviations go way up, and you're going, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. Let's take a look. Maybe we should open up these computers. Like if our bank balance was wrong, you would go to the bank and they would open up the computer and say, oh, it's right here. Bank error in your favor,
Right. Yeah. And I think too with that, because Rick had said that when he went out and purchased one of these Dominion voting machines, that it was just on the side of the road. Somebody was just trying to get rid of it on eBay. And I said to him, it's crazy to me that somebody would do that, because then you can have these nefarious actors out there buying them and learning how to hack them and do all these things.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I asked for, I was sued by Dominion and Smartmatic for billions of dollars. And when I asked the judge in Michigan once for evidence to have one of the machines, or at least to get inside it, I got sanctioned even for asking. This is the world we were in 5 years ago. It's like they're protecting these private voting machine companies who run our elections, just like Amy Klobuchar said in the movie Kill Chain in 2018. And so with these, and by the way, everybody, with my lawsuits, Dominion, remember they said they were bought out by Liberty Vote. It's a Trump guy or whatever. You don't change the name of a company. It's still the same.
Right.
Nothing's changed. They're still as
Cats
bad
don't
as
change their
they ever were.
stripes.
Yeah, exactly. And they asked me the other day on a big interview here that, Mike, where's that sitting? And I said, at last summer, then Dominion said they came out with a thing where.
I lost you a little bit there. You still there? Can you hear me? Nope, I lost you. Hang on. We're working here. You still there? Oh no. Come on. Well, we lost him for a second here. Let's see if we can get him back. Let me. All right, Mike, you still there? Uh-oh, looks like we lost him a little bit there. Oh, we lost him. Okay, well, maybe he'll join back in a second here. But let me see here. Well, yeah, we lost him, but let me put on some clips. Maybe he'll come back here. But I wanted to show the rest of this video here of how obnoxious these people are on this. Check this one out. Oh, he's back. 1 second. And admit.
Oh,
there you go. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Isn't that funny? You start talking about Dominion machines and look what they do, right? Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I know, right? No shit. But yeah, I was like, oh no, no. I was glad you came back.
But I'm saying is the with that lawsuit, they said we're going to drop everybody's lawsuits from Sidney Powell, Mike Lindell, OAN, all these. Well, that was a big lie, everybody. Rudy Giuliani. What they did is they went to everybody and said, if we're going to do a walkaway, you can't say what the walkaway deal was, but there's no money exchange. But you can't talk about the voting machines ever again. Well, there's one guy that didn't take that deal. Myself. I mean, are you kidding me? If you're going to drop them, then you go down and you drop them. The other one is Smartmatic here in Minneapolis. The judge been fining myself $500 a day because, and this goes to Smartmatic when the judge said I did defame him, and then he goes to trial 2 years from now. Well, the Smartmatic then during the following week was found out guilty of crimes in other elections, and this was news worldwide. You'd think it'd be like my cousin Vinny. Hey, in light of the new evidence, you're guilty. Case dismissed, right? But that's not the case. So they're still fighting me on every level on those, but they're like parked cars, and I'm going to still fight my teams. I built the cause of America during the last 5 years to help secure our election, 300,000 people strong in all 50 states, which is what we're doing in Minnesota now with my governor's campaign. We divided up into 67 Senate districts, building teams in every one, getting out 26,000 signs. We're going to win this.
Amen. Well, you better. We need you. We need you. we need people like you out there. I mean, because, I always said it this way, right? Once President Trump came into the fold, I said to myself, I'm never voting for a career politician again. I would rather have somebody who is a businessman, successful businessman, has made his money, and he goes, you know what? I want to serve the people. And I think that is the biggest disconnect that people get from President Trump, is that he was a businessman beforehand and that he's not corrupt. And so they're drawing these schizophrenic connections of like, oh, he just bought this stock and then he took these people to, it's like, it's just crazy to me. They will slander him and any Republican no matter what. And I saw it with you especially because they kept saying, oh, Mike Lindell's debunked claims. I searched the internet forever. I never found any of them debunked.
There's only one truth. Everything I've ever said is the truth. And you got to realize I was the media's darling. I had sold over 85 million My Pillows, built a company from scratch, went around with a pickup truck to every nook and cranny in Minnesota with selling pillows from town to town, and built that into thousands of employees, thousands upon thousands over the years, 85 million My Pillows. But before, and been on TV millions of times, before I got involved with politics and these elections, I had never voted in my life, by the way. I didn't think politics mattered. Well, boy, did I learn it matters everything we do, right? Everything we do. And for me, you sit and I look now, when you talk about a businessman from a business point, even My Pillow being attacked, the most attacked company in history, just because their CEO will not stop talking about these elections. But they always tried to use that, and now they're using it in Minnesota, saying, "Oh, Mike Lindell, he comes with baggage and he's friends with Donald Trump." Well, is that so bad?
Right.
I think those are two things. The baggage is actually the baggage that I have all the receipts on everything in this country for these election platforms basically came through us as a hub of a wheel. Everything was sorted, and now it's sitting in the DOJ. And that's not just the original evidence I had, but the cast vote records. And it's like having all the camera angles from every different direction of a bank robbery, and not just the 2020. People need to realize that's every election since then that we've looked into has computer manipulation or other problems. So I'm looking forward to, it's the same type thing. Do you watch our great president because he was a businessman? I told Esme, she said the other day when I was on that horrible interview in December, she says, "Well, Mike, isn't My Pillow bankrupt?" I said, "No, who told you that?" I said, "We're still standing. We're standing strong in spite of all the attacks. My employee-owned company, we have gotten through by the grace of God." And, you go back in the day before all this, that was the media's darling, where they could say, "Mike, how many more veterans are you hiring? How many more addicts are you giving second chances? How many millions of dollars have you given to the inner city of Minneapolis and St. Paul and Salvation Army and Teen Challenge and hurricane victims?" At My Pillow, we have a 10% tithe that we do regardless of even through all these attacks to help people. And so a lot of the stuff, to keep. I've learned so much, even building the business, but also from scratch, but also being in the midst of these attacks, how you secure things and keep going and navigating. Remember, I've had to navigate the media, as just like our president, and the attack media. And so I really feel that I don't see any other one that can win Minnesota, these Republicans. And if I did, I would say, "Oh, okay, well then here, have at it. Here's all my plans to secure Minnesota in every single platform, from the farmers to the teachers to our healthcare. I have all these laid out." And but I don't. It's like the movie Armageddon, when they asked. The daughter asked Bruce Willis, "Why do you have to go do this?" And when they were saving the country for the asteroid, and I said, "Just for me." "Well, why?" "It's the same thing." He said, "Because I don't trust anyone else to do it right, to get it done. We've been blue here since 1972. It's the same input's going to give you the same output." All these other Republicans, including Lisa Dameth, who, bragged on the stage about a month and a half ago that, a year ago, I knew about this fraud and I had this committee thing or whatever she did, and the Democrats blocked me. I'm going, well, good for you, Special K. You know what? You got an R before your name. It doesn't give you a pass. This stuff happened on your watch too.
Right.
I mean, we the people need to know. And they asked me the other day, Drew, they asked me on stage, "Well, Mike, if you win, how are you gonna get things done if you have if they're getting blocked like they get blocked now?" And I said, "Oh, I'm used to blockers, but I got a very big mouth, and the people are going to hear about my communication. They're going to hear about a blocker. I don't care. You're going to hear about deviations and blocks." And I do it. That's how I run my company. And this is what we have to look at this like it's a company. And you look at each sector. They asked me what I was going to do on day one And I said on day one, I said, what do you mean? I'm going to do it all. Right now, I'm doing my due diligence and looking into, what am I going to do for the teachers? What am I going to do for the farmers? What am I going to do for the inner city? How am I going to solve all Minneapolis has the most strict protest laws in the nation, but they're never followed. I was worried I'd have to get in there and make all these protest laws, but they're just not followed. You can't commit crimes when you're protesting. Come on.
Yeah.
And
Bring a
I've
gun
got
to
the
a
illegals.
protest
I
or
haven't.
something. Or bring like a gun
Right.
to a
And
protest. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a perfect plan, I believe, for the illegals. But each thing I'm working on now, just like the president did the 4 years before 2024, I've watched him through all that time, getting ready, getting prepared. Not if I lose, it's when I win.
Amen.
That's what him and I, when we ever talk, we're the most optimistic people you'll ever see ever. It's like, so I'm saying, when I win, I want to be prepared for day one. Here's what we're going to do. Farmers, teachers, healthcare, all these 24 welfare programs, the NGOs in Minnesota, look out, here we come. Right. We're going to be looking into everything on day one, not just looking into starting day one. I'm starting now. All the rallies and all the events and all the town halls I'm going to do across the state of Minnesota over the next 3, 4, 5 months here. In the meantime, in my off time, you're meeting with all the different people, and what's your biggest concerns, and that's how can we fix this on day one.
Did I hear correctly that the Minnesota GOP is trying to get you to drop out and try to get you to endorse Lisa or something like that?
Oh, they're blocking me. It's disgusting. And by the way, so is the media in Minneapolis, in St. Paul, in Minnesota.
The same way. They're the worst. They're just they
right.
work against us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's in Minnesota, you would not know that I'm running for governor with our media in Minnesota. They have learned to not even attack me because that's how I get the word out. I've done it for 5 years. Every single horrible journalist has my direct number, right? And but they call it and I'll filibuster. I'll get them on the phone for an hour going, well, I know you're busy. I said, no, I got all the time in the world. But the GOP here, in 2 weeks, they have the big convention, and I'm one of there's 2 or 3 of us that said, no, we're not going to go by your endorsement. This has been going on in Minnesota. They end up picking the person they always lose. Yeah. And we did a poll in Minnesota. The Alpha News did, and now there's another one coming out. With the people, I'm number one. Why would I trust anybody here? The people want me, but I'm going to go by your endorsement, and I'm going to drop out. It's not happening on my watch. We can't, Minnesota's, we got one chance here. This is the most critical midterm election, if not election in history at this point right now in time. And, I ran for RNC chair. I'll give you a good example. I believe it was 2023, January, I believe that's the date I ran for RNC chair against Ronna McDaniel and Harmeet Dillon. Now, I doubled the night before the election, everybody. I doubled on the Rasmussen poll came out, and I doubled Harmeet and Ronna combined. Come on, the people wanted me to be the new chair. Right. I had great ideas.
They know you do a good job.
Yeah, well, in my speech to the RNC, though, I did say one of the first things I'm going to do is fire the lawyers you have. They're doing things wrong, and little things like that, right? So, but anyway, I doubled them, and the next day I only got 4 votes. Out of the 168, you get 3 politicians that vote from every state. And I get 4 votes, so that just goes to show you. For example, I went on Jimmy Kimmel then the next day or 2 days later, and Jimmy Kimmel goes, if you ever get a chance to watch this, I embarrassed myself in a claw machine. I don't care. I needed to get the word out. And Jimmy, but I don't care. I want the people. It doesn't matter. Right. Who cares? I just need to get the word out. And Jimmy says, well, Mike, you had this election here and you only got 4 votes. And I said, yeah, but Jimmy, the night before I doubled them both combined. Once again, the politicians didn't listen to the people who they're supposed to represent. And then Jimmy said, well, Mike, do you think it was a fair election? I said, absolutely. It was paper ballots and counted.
That's funny. I like it. So do you think, with that, right? So, Harmeet Dillon, I thought, was doing pretty well on that. But why did they go back to Rona McDaniel? I never understood that exactly, because there was a lot of dirt in the closet. She was wasting money. She's giving money to bad elections.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple of things there. I was actually, to be honest with you, Ronna McDaniel actually helped me because I was there to get that thing pushed through, that resolution. And to be honest, there was a lot of stuff that I found out about Harmeet the night before the election, where Ronna McDaniel had taken a lot of the blame from me, and here it was all Harmeet. So I had a big disconnect with Harmeet, and I still do. What she did left me hanging and everybody hanging down in Arizona when we were doing all the audits, and I was paying for them all, and there was a lot of things that went to do with that. But as far as the vote goes, I don't think, obviously the ones voting didn't know that, but what you had there at the RNC, what I learned of the 168, you probably got about a third up here that I would consider rhinos, establishment, uniparty type, the party that, it's all about greed and money and everything else. Then you have this middle section of the RNC that they don't know which way to go. They're just there, I'm here. I'm one of the guys. But they mostly were drifting up to the upper echelon, these guys running it. Then you have the people's here, which we have about a third. It's about a third. So you have these people here. Everyone's still going to Ronna, and I think it came out the way it did by getting that resolution pushed through. Ronna McDaniel, now, did I have big risks with her from the 2020 election? Absolutely. But the way for myself personally, she did me a favor. I could, the night before, she actually, the things I thought were done bad, some of the things that she actually did good behind the scenes and didn't even take credit for. Was there a lot of money spent wrong at the RNC? Frivolous money spent, things run wrong? Absolutely. But once again, the people in charge didn't have any business knowledge. Right. You have to have business knowledge and run companies. You really do. And this is where I started learning. You look into these politicians and you go, and they're, you're looking from a business point of view like I am and going, you guys don't get it. You got a problem. Here's the solution. And then here's what it's going to manifest to. That's one thing with the president. He's got a gift from God, problem solution, and he'll know what it's going to manifest to. Just like we're sitting in right now. Everyone's going, oh, gas is so crazy. Well, yeah, it is right now. But you know what? The sacrifices now is going to be, he's not afraid. Oh, there's a midterm coming up. But, I really believe within 2 months that gas is just going to drop down lower than history. The long-term gain is saving the world. We're talking about, but of course they're looking at this. Now you're worrying about gas price, and we had the worst economy in history during Biden and all that, with the stolen election and all these things, and they're pinpointing this. So, we pray that because the gas will drop before this midterm elections, which I believe it will. But one thing, our president, he makes decisions based on here's common sense and here's what it can manifest to help all people. And he doesn't go, well, I'm not going to do this because I might lose some votes, or I might lose, we might lose some midterm, or we might lose some votes. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was running when I was still doing the debates here with the other candidates in Minnesota, the second night I was there, this guy comes up to me and he says, now here in Minnesota, it's the worst abortion laws and the thing. You can kill a baby right before they're born, right? And he says, no, we're not going to be able to get them changed here. But, if we want to get, if you want to get more votes and stuff and get, you got to go kind of to the middle. So just say, well, we want to try and move it down to, maybe less months, maybe 3 months or whatever. I'm going, are you kidding me? I said, you think I would change my Christian values and say, okay, it's okay to half kill a baby and call that progress?
Right. Yeah.
To get some vote, if I need that person vote, I'm in the wrong business. Yeah. That's just unbelievable. Right. It's the most nonsensical things, and you can look at everything like that. But I think, enough eyes have been opened. I've said it before, the 2020 election will be the most important election in history. What it did, it opened people's eyes. all across our nation. You got people fighting and everything from the ground up going, hey, wake up. We get one shot at saving our country. And this is a process. It all didn't change when Donald Trump got put in 2024. It wasn't over that. Right. That's just part of the battle, baby.
Yep, amen. And, I think about that too, with, you were involved with a lot of the audits on this stuff in 2020, right? And there was the one guy, I can't remember his name, but they brought him in to talk about forensic auditing. And if you get a paper ballot, they're paper, so anytime you fold it and all of that, you're going to have breaks. It's paper.
Right.
But the way that they would do it is that if, I'm not sure, this one's not working, I'm not sure who this is, pass this to this, they change the ballot, or it's printed, for example, and you put it into the system, you're not going to be able to forensically audit that to see those types of things. So they're kind of covering their own ass, kind of. If I understand it correctly. I really hope
there's so many
that they'd find something. They'd be like, these are all wrong. These are all.
Well, they have. You got to realize what we broke through is the biggest cover up to the biggest crime or potential crime the world has ever seen, which is take the United States without firing a shot. We're fighting the Uniparty, the CCP, the deep state, and the globalists, trying to control our elections. We have all that, but it was covered up so. It was actually amazing that they were able to cover up, deplatform 1.2 million Americans on January 7th and 8th, wipe Parler off the face of the earth, wipe Parler off the face of the earth. I mean, if you spoke out against the election or against the vaccine or for Jesus Christ, you were immediately taken off Vimeo, YouTube, Zuckerberg's Facebook, Jack Dorsey's Twitter. But these things, as they unfolded, our voice did not go out. Now our voice is as big as it could ever be right now with podcasts, 12 social media platforms and all this. We're in a much better spot now because our voice did not go out. So we broke through that big cover up. And now what you see, you were surprised more didn't come out. Oh, it's coming out. It's all sitting in the DOJ and it's things on. You've all heard about Georgia. Doesn't it strike you? Doesn't it strike everybody funny that they're still trying to deny the 2020 election and still trying to cover up what happened back then, what really happened? Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. They want. Right, but they want to keep their mechanism to steal our elections. Yeah. That's what it's all about. They're not going to give up on that. If we opened everything up in 2020, the president's already back in. So before it was like they're denying, Mike Lindell, you just want to flip it back to Donald Trump. No, Mike Lindell wants to get rid of the voting machines and the computers. Even Elon Musk said a year ago, we've got to get rid of computers in our elections. 132 countries have banned them. That's like 9/10 of every country in the world is banned them. There's a reason for it.
Right. Well, with Dominion too, and Smartmatic and all of that, a lot of these headquarters aren't even in the United States. You guys were finding stuff, IP addresses in Russia and Ukraine and.
Absolutely. Well, it all started, Serbia, and that all evidence just came out now in September, and Venezuela, the genesis of Smartmatic, where it all started in Venezuela. I was on a podcast, on Zoom calls with the underground in Venezuela in January of 21, and they're actually crying on the phone on this call going, Mike, please don't give up, because at that time I was the only one holding my hand up, getting shot down with retailers and everything every day going, hey, you got to hear about our machines. And the Venezuela underground was just going, they took our country with these machines when they came in, and please don't give up. Well, now the president went in there. They're going to be a free country too, just like Argentina, when that one judge made a decision in August of 22. We've got to get rid of these machines. We've got to get rid of them. And they said, but it can't be done, Judge. It can't be done in time. We only have 4 months. The judge said, I don't care. They got to be gone. They did it in 4 months. They beat the Netherlands by a month, and they're a free country now.
Man, there it is. That's amazing.
Right on.
So, with the 2020 election, I know you went to the White House often. I got to ask, how cool is the Oval Office?
It's absolutely amazing. I've been blessed to be such good friends with the president, and just an ex-addict from Minnesota, and to be in there and to be blessed. But the Oval Office is it's just amazing and surreal. Um, um, and and the president, I tell you, there's one couple of things I can say, but people who don't know, he's so funny. He's very funny. He's the most optimistic person I've ever seen. He's the best multitasker I've ever seen, and one of the best listeners I've ever seen. Where people will be in that Oval Office and he'll just take in input on everything. Your opinion would matter, yours and yours and yours and yours, to listen to people. And then, like you say, he's got that God-given talent, problem solution, knowing what it's going to manifest to help all people. And he doesn't care about people, the blockers. You make this decision, and it would take a lot to move it off that once it's taken in. But there are times you have to bend it, like a businessman. Okay, we got it. Now we'll have to give a little bit here, but it's just amazing.
So what do you think it's going to take, right? So right now in the Republican Party, there's kind of a divide, right? We're kind of have this schism, so to say. You got the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens, and then you got, your other ones. Granted, Tucker and them have gone nuts, but what do you think it's going to take to bring, as they call him, Tucker Carlson, but, what's it going to take to bring the party back together, given, the division on this Iran issue, do you think?
Well, I think you're just going to see as it comes to fruition here, and and we just pray that it comes. It's always on God's timing. I think it's going to come very fast. And once again, you will see that because they've been doing this to the president now for over 10 years, or even before he was elected. He put something out there, and the media and everyone, and sometimes our own party, attacking him, going, "The world's going to collapse. What you did, everything's going to be horrible now. You ruined our way of life." And then 3 months down the road, it's a beautiful thing. And then they go on to the next thing, the media and everybody. So I don't think there's a big divide. I think people see through the Tucker Carlsons of the world. I think and I told the president, I just told him this again the other day, "Sir, everybody loves you. Some just don't know it yet."
Amen.
That's a great line, right? I mean, that's it. Because it just takes more and more time where they go, "Wow, if I look back, if you really open your eyes and see the big picture." I mean, these people in Iran, now granted, the timing's a little off here. Those people are ready to stand up 80% of that country for freedoms, but they killed 40,000 of them in January. And if they would have, they need to rise up again to help here, but and to free their country after 47 years, and get the way of life we all have. But they lost. Remember, those 40,000 were probably the most courageous of the courageous. So now you got to be down here, and we pray that they're hesitant, going, "Gee, what if they're going to kill us all, like they did in January?" So there's a lot of moving pieces, and we, like I say, it's on. I've had to learn patience. During this, you look up patience for anything. You don't see my picture, but I've had to learn that it might not be God's will or God, right? It might not be God's will or God's timing. Yeah. So, but I really believe that this is gonna, when you get through this, it'll just be another thing for our president. Hey, you stopped the end of the world with Iran getting a nuclear bomb. Also, you freed a great nation of people. Remember, this is like 2 generations later, after they going back then, where those generations, as they got older and the internet got in, and they started hearing of a life better outside of Iran, and they started going, "Hey, there is a better life, there is a better way." So communications are a big thing, and that's but I just think you just got to watch this out. In the meantime, it's embarrassing. Your Tucker Carlsons of the world, as far as I'm concerned. Why? You got your people out there. They can say whatever they want. Going, okay, did you want Kamala Harris? That would be end times, everybody. Then you better be praying, getting everyone you can to Jesus, and we all go to heaven. It's a win-win. But what they're saying is so nonsensical. You can't even wrap your head around this.
Well, it really bothers me too. I mean, I think women have it a lot harder than men do in many aspects, right? And I think what they have done to Erica Kirk is just insulting. I mean, the poor woman lost her husband, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, Candace Owens is out there talking about the Mossad killed him, and it's like she's just going for clicks and stuff, and it's just kind of a disgrace. This poor girl, this poor woman lost her husband in the most brutal of ways, and I was so devastated. But I just hate to see that these people are just choosing hate over just being good people.
And you got to look at this, everybody. That's deviation in behavior. This is all about deviation. So now we have these deviations in behavior with your Candace Owens and so on. There's an agenda behind that. Is it a grifting agenda? So more people watch your podcast. What is behind that? Is it? Does she really believe that? You see, you got to. There are different things too that. When you get a deviation behavior, you have to try and find the input to realize why things changed. You know what I mean? And nobody can really put your finger on it. I've tried to with Tucker Carlson. I'm going, I don't get it. But then this man, maybe he didn't change. Remember, they found texts of his that he didn't like Donald Trump going way back, you know?
Right.
So
I thought that was weird. They're so close with him, that he got really close with him, Seemed kind of odd after saying stuff like that, but there was a lot of that, during the Dominion thing when all the Fox News things came to light, and it was like, oh, Tucker is actually kind of a snake in the grass. But I think that's true with the whole 2020 situation. Is that God has a plan for everything, and I feel like after 2020, God revealed every snake in the grass. Everyone, everybody that was bad, they pop up their head, and it showed everybody. And I feel like Donald Trump's 10 times stronger now than he was ever in, the 2016.
Oh, 100%. He learned so much from back then, and it's just been absolutely amazing. He learned. I've told him if he was put back in back then, if I'd have been the marketer for evil, we'd have lost our country forever if they'd have put, hey, you're the rightful winner, because so much had to happen these last 4 years before he got in, for him to learn, and for all of us to learn of everything that it went on. I said, I told him once, I said, we were sitting there, and I said, sir, there's two buckets going on. This is like early summer of 2024. I said, first bucket is this bucket of common sense. I said, the more bad things keep happening, I said, people are jumping into your bucket, and they call it the new party of common sense. And I said, and also people are jumping into this other bucket, the greatest revival for God, for Jesus Christ ever, because things are bad. People don't look to God when things are good. They look to God when things are bad. Right. And then I remember him looking at me, and he said, but Mike, he said, they're just destroying our country, destroying everything. He said, we got 4 years, and I don't know if we get it all fixed in 4 years. I said, sir, with God, all things are possible, and him working through you, you'll get it done faster and better than anyone. And it's true. Look what he's done. He's been moving. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.
Just the true turnaround and everything. People talk about gas prices and that, but during the Biden administration, we saw price increases of 21% over everything.
Oh, yeah, right.
And now we're talking about a 3% increase, which is like kind of natural inflation. And the Democrats go, oh, my God, the cost and affordability. It's just so disingenuous. I just, I don't.
It really is. It really is. Are we live, Drew?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just seeing if we were live.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Well,
it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will let you go.
But yeah, no, they were disingenuous. I just, I could come back on, but I do have in about 4 minutes. About 5 minutes here, or 4 minutes. I gotta go. That's the only thing. I will let
you go. I appreciate you so much for coming on. It's been great talking with you, and God bless you, and we'll see you.
I'll come on anytime, and I want to tell you, we're praying for Michigan. I'll tell you, Michigan, you guys, of all my teams, they are the biggest fighters, and I mean that with all you guys. Just don't give up. Even look at you lost all the Republicans in the 2020 election, but they were not good Republicans. Everybody, and that Michigan did not give up. You guys have fought, and great things are coming in Michigan. I believe Michigan, Minnesota, with the fighters we have, are going to lead the way, but especially Michigan to finally get our election secure and get back to common sense and and a great way of life that we for our future. So thank you, Drew, and I'll come back on any time. And if you guys want to check out my what I'm doing in Minnesota, it's lindellgov.com. Very easy, lindellgov.com.
Absolutely. We'll put that up on the links. I appreciate you. Thank you so much again for coming on. You are the man.
God bless you, Drew. Thank you.
God bless you. Take care.
Okay.
All right. And that was our show for today. We had the great Mike Lindell. Great conversation. A lot of perspective there. A lot of perspective. One thing I always love about it is his faith. His faith is so strong. And they always say that people who are strong and people who get constantly knocked down and constantly get back up, those are God's people. Those are God's people. So that is the biggest thing. Be one of God's people. Keep the faith. Always follow the good Lord and his ways. Now, this is what is happening in New York. And this is pretty crazy stuff, really. But check this one out here.
What the fuck is wrong with you, bitch? Fuck the fuck up!
Let's go, motherfucker! Come on, motherfucker!
Shuffle. 9/11 also? Did you celebrate 9/11? Shuffle.
Are you celebrating 78 years of bloodshed? 78? Are you celebrating 78 years of bloodshed? 78 years of occupation? Are you celebrating this? Are you celebrating 78 years?
Who's celebrating terrorism? Who's celebrating?
A lot of, so that's what's happening in New York, right? And they're doing this outside of a synagogue. It's crazy because the Democrats have really become this anti-Semitic party of just hate. And look at this.
Too ugly. Jewish women are way too ugly to be raped by him. And they made me with a condom.
Look at this.
Too ugly. Too ugly. Jewish women are way too ugly to be raped by him. And they made me with a condom.
Jewish women are too ugly to be raped? How nice.
Like, tell me there's not a mental illness there. There's so much hatred in these people's hearts, and it's all based around Donald Trump. Now, I mean, you got these people that just lie about everything. But I wanted to get to this one too, because we had a California mayor, Mayor Eileen Wang, who was charged for spying for China. And she's in
Arcadia Mayor Eileen Wang not taking questions about the sentencing of a convicted Chinese spy who she once referred to as her boyfriend and fiancé and who worked on her campaign. Can you just give us your reaction to the sentence? Mayor Wang has not been accused of any wrongdoing in connection with this case involving the Chinese spy that began to unfold several years ago. Tuesday's council meeting was the first since the now convicted spy, Yao Ying's son, who also went by Mike's son, was sentenced to 4 years in prison for his covert actions on behalf of the Chinese government. The feds say starting in 2020, Sun operated a pro-Chinese Communist Party news website for the Chinese American community. Sun was also directed by Chinese officials to boost the campaign of an unidentified Southern California politician. This is Wang talking about her relationship with Sun at a council meeting from December of 2022.
To my fiancé, Director Mike's son, who walks streets with me every single day, who is a real leader of me.
After Sun was charged, Wang tried to distance herself from Sun.
Number one, he's not my fiancé. Whoever wants to see he's my fiancé or former fiancé, please prove it.
So you have these people that are just spying for other people. And it's crazy because think about this. How do you get into the United States, get into a mayor spot, and then if you're spying from another country. Now, that same woman, she pleaded guilty. And this is
我是2022年 Arcadia 第3区市议员候选人，我将致力于为全体市民争取权益，努力提高企业信心，平衡预算，打击犯罪，不遗余力。请在11月8日投我一票，支持王爱玲竞选 Arcadia 第3区市议员。谢谢大家。Hello everyone, my name is Eileen Wing. I'm running Arcadia City Council District 3. Public safety, transportation, homeless issue, all are my priority. Please support and vote me on November 8th. Thank you. 我是王爱玲。
really American stuff there, right? But I just think that's crazy that that you have that. And then also in California, this, as if these people get any weirder, you legitimately have Karen Bass.
People who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all. They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth. You can't succeed without teeth. So there needs to be comprehensive health care provided to people. How many people?
So that's what they want. They want free teeth cleaning for crackheads and meth heads. That's what they want. But that is all the time that we have today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. You guys are awesome. Keep the faith. God bless every single one of you, and get out there and talk shit to a liberal today. Keep the faith. We'll see you next Saturday at 11 a.m.